Federal government charges suspect arrested by the Department of State Services over the kidnap of children and teachers recently rescued in Oriire local government area of Oyo State. As the service also has rescued 2 children, neutralized 2 kidnappers in Kwara State. Supreme Court restores the final forfeiture of 7 high-value property linked to former governor of the central bank, Godwin Emefiele. Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Jeffrey Uzama, sitting in for Sheun Okimbaloye. And some exciting news and cherry news, if you will, because this is perhaps arguably what Nigerians want to hear when they hear criminal elements commit crime in Nigeria. So let's begin by confirming to you that the federal government has now charged 3 men, Abdurazak Umar, also known as Abu Khalifa Abu Khalid, Yunusa Musa, also known as Yunusa bin Musa, and Shamsu Adamu Sani, also known as Abi Itisa, for the recent kidnap of children and their teachers in a school in Oriire local government area of Oyo State. The 10-count charge preferred against them by the Department of State Services is filed before the Federal High Court, Abuja. It borders on terrorism, kidnapping, concealment, incitement, and illegal mining. The defendants, all of Suleja local government area of Niger State, are alleged to have conspired with one Mohammed Sani, Jabril Mohammed, and Ibrahim Kabab between January and May 2026 to kidnap school children and teachers in Oyo State. And that's contrary to Section 26(1) of the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. The suspects, who professed membership of Darul Salam, described as an affiliate of Ansaru, are further alleged to have aided the kidnap of these school children and their teachers and have concealed information regarding the identities and activities of the alleged masterminds despite knowledge of the plot. Offenses said to be to contravene Section 26(2) and 16(1) of the Act, respectively, among other charges preferred against them. Now, in the meantime, operatives of the Department of State Services and forest guards on Thursday rescued 2 kidnapped children in Kwara State. Rescued in a forest between Oba Isin and Owa Onire in Ishin and Ifelodun local government area of the state was a 16-year-old Fatima Aziz and a 5-year-old brother, Ibrahim. According to the state government sources, the security team eliminated 2 armed bandits while others escaped with severe injuries as more rescue operations were reported. So that is, commendation to the government for acting on this one, because we know those children were kidnapped and they were rescued just less than a week ago, and now we're beginning to see prosecution, and we hope this can be expedited, because every Nigerian has been asking, actually, if you say you rescued these people, where are the people that were neutralized? And the ones you said you arrested, where are they in court? Now we can see at least we have 3 of them in custody and are being ready to be arraigned before the court of competent jurisdiction. We're not done with court cases. The Supreme Court has restored the final forfeiture of 7 high-value property linked to former central bank governor Godwin Emefiele, bringing to an end a major legal dispute over the asset. In a unanimous judgment delivered by a 5-member panel, the Apex Court overturned the Court of Appeal's decision that had ordered a fresh hearing of the case. The court upheld that November 2022 ruling of the Federal High Court, which found the property to be reasonably suspected proceeds of unlawful activities. The forfeited assets located in Lagos and Delta, together with over $2 million in cash and share certificates, are now permanently vested in the federal government. A lot of legal things to chew on the program today. We can tell you as well, this is Now Politics, where Justice Salim Ibrahim of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has struck out a suit seeking to compel the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to recognize and publish the names of Kabiru Turaki-led Interim National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party. And now, delivering that judgment, Justice Ibrahim held that the plaintiff, led by the PDP Board of Trustees Chairman Adolfo Swabara, lacked legal standing to institute a suit and consequently struck it out for want of jurisdiction. The court upheld that the preliminary objection filed by INEC and sustained similar objection raised by parties seeking to be joined in the suit, ruling that the plaintiff failed to establish that INEC had recognized the purported interim NWCO that they had the authority to sue on behalf of the PDP. Members of the Wabara-led BOT filed a suit to compel INEC to update its database by acknowledging the Interim National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party led by Turaki Tanimu. While that Interim National Committee of the PDP has also responded via their own spokesperson, Memo Bong, says that while we respect the trial court, we respectfully consider that it's against the extant judgment of the appeal and apex courts, leaving the plaintiff with no option but to appeal the judgment and rulings therein. The plaintiff have accordingly briefed their lawyers to take immediate steps to appeal the rulings. We are hopeful that as we climb the ladder of law upwards, the victory of truth over lies, principles of over-compromise and survival of true opposition and multi-party democracy will be secured. The politics of power, money, and greed may last for a while, but we're certain that though our victory may be postponed, as the struggle continues, we'll eventually attain it. So that's literally reading verbatim what the publicity secretary of the interim committee says. So today we're going to be exploring two vital conversations: the state of the nation. We're going to talk politics, the economy, and everything in between with the SDP presidential candidate in the next election. So there are lots of questions to be responded to. I'm also going to be having, the NBA is having their election tomorrow. Should be joined by one or two of the contestants who are vying for that position to succeed Mazia Famasigwe. But we'll be back after this. Let's bring you our political roundup stories in just a moment.
President Bola Tinubu has signed the Presidential Executive Order on Virtual Assets Coordination 2026 to harmonize the regulation of virtual assets, strengthen cooperation among the nation's financial, revenue, and capital markets agencies, protect citizens from fraud, and safeguard the integrity of the financial system while enabling responsible innovation. According to the statement from the presidency, the president signed the order in pursuant to Section 5 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as altered, and the executive order takes effect immediately. The Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, has paid glowing tribute to the police officer who lost his life during the joint operation that rescued the abducted students of Oriire Community High School in Ogbomosho, Oyo State, describing his sacrifice as a supreme price paid in the service of the nation. The Inspector General of Police, who led prayers for the repose of the fallen officer's soul during a special gathering with members of the police management team and operatives involved in the mission, also commends the officers for their courage, professionalism, and unwavering commitment. Mr. Disu, while wishing those injured a speedy recovery, commends the personnel for their outstanding role in a successful rescue operation, saying their performance brought honor to the Nigeria Police Force, just as he reaffirms his readiness to work with other security agencies in protecting lives and safeguarding national security. The Northern Youth Association has called for an independent, transparent, and credible investigation into the death of 26-year-old Mary Habila, who reportedly died on June 27, 2026, at the private residence of the Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, Ohauzara local government area of Ebonyi State. The group notes that the case had become a critical test of Nigeria's commitment to justice, accountability, and equality before the law, insisting that the circumstances surrounding Habila's death must be fully uncovered. At a news conference in Abuja, the president of the group, Mr. Godiya Buguru, notes that the death of any Nigerian under suspicious circumstances deserved serious attention, noting that anything short of a thorough investigation would further erode public confidence in Nigeria's justice system. To Niger State, where the supporters of the National Rescue Movement have formally declared support for the African Democratic Congress ahead of the 2027 general elections, pledging to mobilize its structures across the 25 local government areas of the state to secure victory for the party. The chairman of the movement, Mr. Mikhail Mbitusahi, announced the decision during a press briefing in Minna, describing the move as one driven by the collective interest of the people of Niger State and Nigeria rather than political expediency.
Welcome back. So let me bring in my guest, Ms. Adewole Adebayo, is the SDP presidential candidate in the election. Good evening. Welcome to the program, sir.
Good to see you, and may God bless Nigeria.
Fantastic. Perhaps I'm spoiled for choice on exactly where to start, but let me start with the very stories I led with. Loads of stories that has to do with the Department of State Services, the federal government now prosecuting some of these elements that have been disturbing the Nigerian state. Remember when that rescue happened, there was a debate whether it was a rescue or a release, but eventually the government said they were rescued, and the government actually recorded, the military or the security forces recorded casualty. We even understand one of the teachers, actually 2 teachers died in the process. The one that was beheaded, and then this other one. People were asking if terrorists were neutralized, where are their bodies? Or if people were arrested, when will they be arraigned in court? And within a week, we've seen the DSS bring this to bear in terms of those that are to be prosecuted, and really now the 10-count charge. I wonder what your impression is, and nexus that with the call by the Oyo State governor to say, which sounds like a bit of a trust issue. He says he wants the international community to come in and be part of investigation as to what played out. I don't know whether it's in the kidnap itself or the rescue itself. What do you make of this?
Well, what I make of this is, number one, that I'm happy that our compatriots, good citizens of Nigeria, teachers and students who have done nothing other than do the normal thing that we promise ourselves in the country to educate the young people. And in the process of that, they were kidnapped, molested, harassed, maltreated, and some killed. And the country was in the grip of tension. And we were showing a lot of sympathy. I went to the place, met with the governor, and all of that. So we're happy that they are home. Of course, we are incensed and aggrieved that some have lost their lives. And what we can do now at this point is to congratulate the families of those who have been recovered and to take some policy lessons from it. At the policy lesson, it summarized that we must learn to govern, and we must not govern episodically. We must govern systemically, and we must govern cooperatively, not atavistically. So it means that the lesson we need to learn from it is not to politicize the issue or sensationalize the issue. Is to learn that we need to have safe communities, and to have safe communities, we need our institutions to work at all levels. With respect to Oyo State Governor, I think the Oyo State Governor would do much better to use its own institutions to find out what he wants to find out, because the kidnappers and killers have violated Oyo State laws by coming into Oyo State and committing felonies within Oyo State, which we will now include kidnapping, conspiracy, and murder. And all that, these are all laws of Oyo State for which Governor Seyi Makinde was elected to enforce. And I think Oyo State has all it takes, much better than United Nations or African Union or anybody, to look into the matter. And I would recommend that Oyo State Governor should use the institution of Oyo State. He has an Attorney General. He has sufficient capacity within the Oyo State to set up an inquiry and also a criminal investigation. And to the extent that Oyo State laws have been violated, he has the power to ensure that he gives the support to law enforcement in Oyo State. And if these people now who are charged to court, if they are convicted, they will have to go to prison in Oyo State. So I don't see any reason why we should refrain from using the powers that are available to us to govern our people. We are talking about United Nations and all sorts. I think the Oyo State should look inwards. And the federal government should also remember that Oriire local government and Oriire communities school is not the entire Nigeria. There are still many families facing threats facing kidnapping. There are victims in Askira Uba and in many parts of Kebbi, Sokoto, even as close as Plateau. The killers of people in Yewata and Benue haven't been apprehended, and many, many more. So I think we should focus on making sure that this success in dealing with one incident is now routine. Because in a functioning society, the rescue of these victims should be something that the divisional police officer in Ogumosho, Oriire local government, should be able to handle routinely. That anywhere you are in Nigeria, if you have the criminal temerity to go and kidnap any Nigerian anywhere, you know you will not last 78 hours. The law enforcement will catch you, and you will be prosecuted. It should be routine. It's not something that we should have presidential parade over.
Yeah, Mr. Adebayo, there's a lot to chew on with you, so I'm trying to be, I want to ask you as many questions as time would accommodate. I even understand now that a university lecturer in Nasarawa State has also been rescued by the DSS, and suspects have been arrested in that connection. But since we're dwelling on security for now before we get to politics, there are still concerns about the question around state police, and I really want your deepest thoughts and your views on it. I'm sure you shared a few of them. So let me reel it out. First, the fear of abuse is very rife. People are worried, given that arguably the state assemblies and even the local government are literal appendages of the governors. They can argue and push back, but that is the reality we see most of the time when you look at how elections are conducted and how those houses of assembly operate extensively in most of these states. And now we had the Senate talk about guardrails that they put. One of the guardrails that they are talking about is the fact that the funding of this state police will be directly deducted from FAC. So on one hand, what do you see? Is it we are going to have a state police that is controlled, managed some way or the other by the state government, but when you now have funding directly from the federal government, what do you make of that level of what may be considered an indirect control in itself, if you understand my drift?
Yes, we govern by the breach. And we have to have a society that governs by the law, not by the breach of the law. First, the argument regarding policing is a constitutional argument. The moment you have a federation, you have legislative lists given to different levels of government. It goes without saying that every level of government is authorized to police. Because what's the point saying that your state House of Assembly can pass a law criminalizing certain activities, making capital offenses? You can pass the law that says if you kill, you will be killed. It's a state law. The law that says if you kidnap, you will have life imprisonment. It's a state law. So why will a state have a government, have an assembly that can make law, have its own courts, but is not competent to have its own police? It doesn't make any sense. There are enough guardrails in the Constitution. Chapter 4 of the Constitution is exclusively for fundamental rights. And those rights are valid against federal police, state police, local government police, and any institution. So there are enough guardrails in the law already. Now, with respect to whether we trust the governor, if you don't trust the governors, why will you trust the president? There are histories of presidents misusing the police. So why have we not abolished the presidency or the federal police? So we should mature out of that and realize that it is one of the requirements of statehood that you should have policing. In fact, the world government has policing inherent in it. If you cannot police and you cannot enforce your writs, well, why are you called a government? So every level of government should have power to police. It's just that your policing power is limited to your constitutional jurisdiction. For example, there is nothing against a local government police, but the local government police will enforce sanitation laws regarding markets and things like that, and traffic, hackney, and permit and all of that. So littering and things like that. So according to the power in the Constitution, that's how your policing will be. And I envisage a situation where, in due course, some state police departments or police units or formation or service will be better than the federal one. Because in many areas where we have seen it, for example, I lived many years and I practiced law in New York, I practiced law in California, and #1 police force in America, most professional, is the New York Police Department, NYPD. And maybe #2 will be LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department. And they compete with the FBI. And if you recall, when JF Kennedy, President Kennedy, was killed in Dallas in 1963, the FBI was slow about it. It was the Dallas district attorney that said, well, somebody came to Dallas, you kill him inside Dallas, I'm going to investigate it. So most of what we know about the book depository, about the grassy knoll, whether there's one gunshot or two gunshots, how many killers, all came from the investigation conducted by the Dallas Police Department and the Dallas District Attorney. So we need to grow up. Once we say we are a federation, and federal is the first word in our Constitution, we should not worry about implementing it. Therefore, if you have a governor who is misbehaving, then you vote him out in the next election. How you abuse police or you don't abuse police, how you manage law enforcement, you don't manage law enforcement, will be part of what we will consider before deciding whether somebody is fit to be a governor or is not. And it is too surprising for me to hear people say that a state can't run the police because you can't trust them. But the state can run courts, and the states are running courts, and will go to court and defeat the governor or the government in their own court. So I think we should just professionalize the police, make sure that we ensure that we follow the law generally, and an abuse is an abuse, whether it's done by local government or done by state or done by federal. We have constitutional provisions already, and we can professionalize the service. With respect to direct deduction from federation account, it is not new. Even state courts are supposed to be, state judges are supposed to be paid from consolidation. So the idea is that certain services are so essential that you can pay them from the Consolidated Revenue Fund. It doesn't mean that that money belongs to the federal government. What it just means is that the money is spoken for. It is not now left to the discretion of the governor. Because the governor and assembly may divert policing funds and go and use to construct roads or outrightly waste it. And then you can't have people with guns on the street and they don't get paid. So I think it's not a bad idea. It doesn't mean that the federal government will control. But in any case, under our Constitution, anything that is concurrent is subject to one constitutional principle we call covering the field. Whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's railway, anything, if the federal government and the state government have concurrent jurisdiction, the state law would defer to the federal law. That is how it is in Nigeria, it is in Australia, it is in India, it is in the USA, and Canada, anywhere that practices federalism.
Yes. Let's segue from that into politics and quickly on that. And that has to do with what we're outlooking as far as 2027 is concerned. A lot of the political parties, perhaps yours, you correct me if I'm wrong, litigation encumbrances across board. So what you hear Nigerians say, for those who are not happy with the twin policy of government, essentially a lot of Nigerians, even the government has acknowledged the fact that the twin policy of government is really biting hard on everybody, businesses, and everybody's pocket. But what you hear is from the government, they throw up the macroeconomic numbers that are looking good, play down perhaps on the ones that are not looking good, and then the people throw up the micro that is not looking good. So there are two things that look like they are true all at the same time, macro and micro. But when they look at the opposition, all they may be hearing is litigation, counter-litigation, rather than alternative idea. Is this a situation that will naturally make the electorate confused as to how to go, or this in itself will play in the interest of the APC to give the president a home run?
Well, it's agenda setting. Number one, there is no macro that's looking good. The government is suffering from three problems which they can address even before the election. One, they have the general case of incompetence. They're not just not good at doing their job. Two, they genuinely, honestly suffer from economic illiteracy. They don't know what they will do that will have the multiplier effect and have the greatest, yield the greatest good to the greatest number of people. And then in the third component, they are ashamed to debate and face reality, because if you have 47% unemployment, you have it. There's no need cooking the number. If you have the worst inflation in your sub-region, and you have the worst inflation in the developing world, you need to know. If you are not able to control your spending, you are running deficit, running wild with deficit, you need to know. And you need to deal with that. So that in economics, there's the limit to how many lies you can tell. In politics, it's endless. But in economics, the numbers will bite you at the end of the day. So let us get it right. There is no way the macro can be good, and 18 months down the line, the micro will not be good. So if the micro is not working, you need to walk back to the macro and realize that it's not working. So essentially, President Tinubu is wasting his time, wasting the time of the people, and he needs to do some things that are easier to do, to tweak his policies, one, to be a little more honest, but very much more honest, and ensure that government money goes to government accounts, that you implement budget and make sure that the budget actually work within your own government and they work in the sector, and that you manage government debt in such a way that domestic debts paid so that you can free money for the private sector to be able to employ people. And that the promises that you made that are low-hanging ones, you try to keep them. But if you don't keep those promises, it doesn't matter how many litigations you get opposition into, people are going to remember that you haven't served them well. Now, going to the issue of opposition litigation, there's litigation anywhere. That's not the issue. Litigation doesn't stop the party from functioning. We are running a democracy that's supposed to be under the rule of law. And the government has specialized in tweaking every opportunity they have to confuse INEC and to make National Assembly to give us one of the worst and complicated electoral act amendment in recent times. So the courts are now striking many of them down. And I can tell you, in terms of number, 2007 election and 2003 elections have had more litigations than we have now. So that idea is not the issue. And early in the day, for the president to rejoice that the opposition is in trouble, we are not in as much trouble as the president and his government are, because one.
No, go land on your thoughts before I throw in as we begin to wind down. You can land on that thought.
Now, because what we said 4 years ago, when we were competing with the president at that time, have come to pass. There is no economic prediction that I made, that SDP made, that did not come to pass. We said President Tinubu's policy on subsidy removal will make factor prices to go up, will cause inflation, and cause hardship and poverty. And now the World Bank is saying close to 80% of Nigerians are poor. And we also said that it will not plug the fiscal hole. You are not going to save any money because there was no money to save, because the subsidy itself was a mirage. And that what you need to do is to ensure that domestic supply of petrol is available. And you could see that the reason why you don't have 2,000, 3,000 naira crude petrol now is because there is some private sector contribution to crude supply. Then what the government needed to do is to do diversification so that the private sector refiners can export their own and foreign exchange for the country, whereas our own public refineries can try to meet domestic demand.
All right, Mr. Adebayo.
That is how to bifurcate the market and save the economy.
Yeah, I did read the NDU report, somewhere a bit controversial, but the part of poverty, the ultra poor, the poverty, they talked about 63%, that's Nigeria Development Update by the World Bank, 63% poverty. What I meant by what they play up is inflation numbers at 15, food inflation was at 8, I think in the early part of the year, but it has by 100% now to about 17%. They talk about their FX reserve, which is over 51 billion, stable currency, energy security with the Dangote refinery, record FAC allocation. Of course, the downside risk is the debt. They talk about the rally of the NGX. I can go on and on to some of the things they play up. But my last question to you, if you will, is if you win in this election, say in 2027, from where President Bola Tinubu stopped has gone to right now, how would you ensure that it's translated to the micro? Because you're saying if at this time the macro you claim is not as good as they claim it to be, and if at this point it hasn't gotten to the micro, what are they claiming? So what is different? What are you going to do differently in 2 minutes, if you will?
Okay, the first thing I will do is honesty. You see, President Tinubu is entitled to his own opinion. I'm sure you have heard of very nice, beautiful lady that is 21 years old every year. She was 21 years old 10 years ago, and she's still doing her 21st birthday today. You can't argue with somebody who over their own number. What President Tinubu is hiding is the fact that these numbers are not reflective of reality. So the first thing I would do is to be honest. Second is to govern. And how do you govern? You govern the economy by governing the fiscal policy. Right now, even their own friends in the World Bank and other Bretton Woods institutions that they are hogging around are saying that trillions of federal revenue is not entering the federation account. So they need to account for that. Their procurement system is upside down because it does not comply with the Appropriation Act. So what I will do in short order is one, I'll be honest with the state of the economy. Two, I will ensure that if there's fiscal policy that is disciplined, we will work towards having a balanced budget, except where we are borrowing for specific self-financing developmental projects. But in terms of the cost of governance, we should be able to govern in such a way that we lower the cost of government. We work carefully about servicing the humongous loans that they are taking now within the moratorium and after the moratorium, and ensure that we free enough money for economic activities. Thirdly, we make sure that we invest on the social and economic rights of Nigerians. Education, housing, basic infrastructure, electrification, and healthcare. So when you do all of that, you relieve people because you bring the cost of living down, and you also create employment for people. The fourth thing we are going to do is to ensure that we are very careful with the management of monetary policy to see that allocative efficiency is allowed to be structured between the central bank and the banks, such that if we manage inflation, interest rate properly, people who want to create value chain can actually borrow money legitimately, create a value chain, and succeed. And then we need to work very hard with respect to ensuring that infrastructure works and that people who are in the country feel safe by way of security, and that will help you with agricultural output, that will help you with agro-allied industry. And lastly, we need to abolish corruption as a matter of policy. This government, with due respect, is too corrupt to make the country work.
Oh, big allegations. Mr. Adebayo, as a matter of fact, listening to you, I don't think anybody can debate about the mind, the capacity of the mind to be able to deliver on the job. But this game is about numbers. The numbers. Do you have the numbers? If you can answer in 30 seconds. This game is about numbers.
Nigeria has the number. What we need to do is to pivot our mind from politics of personality, politics of reward, politics of brinkmanship, to policies that can save our lives.
All right.
Even those who are in government today know that they need a government better than the one they are running. The important thing is that the numbers will come when we have the right subject matter discussed in the course of the elections. Okay,
thank you so much. The only model we have as on a sitting president is a coalition or a merger in that sense. But we didn't see it. Now everybody is fragmented to push on this one ruling party with 31 governors and all of the state assembly and national assembly members. We're here to watch and report.
We want to work on that to make sure that we're actually united around principle, not just united by ambition.
We'll get to the campaign seasons eventually. Adewole Adebayo is the SDP presidential candidate. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you for coming on the program.
Thank you, and may God bless Nigeria.
Absolutely. We'll take a break after this. When we come back, the NBA, the Nigeria Bar Association, they say they're the biggest bar in Africa, will be deciding who succeeds Mazi Afamosigwe tomorrow in the election. Lots of controversy about this election. Well, 3 people, a lady and 2 gentlemen, all senior advocates of Nigeria, are saying we are fit for the job. Where will the pendulum swing? What will be the verdict of members of the bar? That will be decided tomorrow. But I will be joined by one of them today on the program. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's now talk about what will be happening tomorrow at the NBA election. 3 persons are vying for the office of President of the Nigerian Bar Association. We understand over 82,000 lawyers will be making that crucial decision because everybody is entitled to vote. One man, one vote. Olumiyiwa Akimboro, Lateef Omoyeni Akengbe, Oyikonsola Badejo Okunsonya. These are the 3 candidates, 2 gentlemen and a lady, all senior advocates of Nigeria. But this election has been trailed by loads of controversy, even litigation to the courts about whether consensus or not. We even understand the service provider for the election was actually invited or something of that nature, but now it's been released. So many stories. But let me bring in my guests. We'll get 2 of them on the program. But we have with us in Abuja Studio, Olumiyiwa Akimboro, joining us from Abuja Studio. Senior Advocate, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
I think my natural question will be, why so much controversy on this for this particular election? These are very respectable organization, association, the biggest bar on the continent, but shrouded by encumbrances that can be arguably avoidable. Why do you think this is?
Well, unfortunately, that's the case. And that's what we have been trying to avoid, and over the years. Since we have changed our system to the universal adult suffrage, year in, year out, we have always had the issues with our elections. And it's unfortunate, really, because, like you said, in a prestigious association like the Nigeria Bar Association, this is something that should not be happening. And that's what all of us, and particularly myself, have been interested in. That's my major area of focus, that we need to reform our process so that we take our rightful place and be, as we are called, the guardian and the watchdog for the society.
I know that the Southwest is producing, that's why we have all of these names. But particularly you, we understand that the people from the South, as I'm trying to get the names so I don't mess it up, had spoken with, that's the Morphion Odwa had actually spoken to the persons that are interested in this office. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Their preference was you, am I correct?
It's not a matter of preference. I want to first add a note of warning that I'm not here to campaign. I think
yes,
I'm
I know.
Being invited so that, yes, because the time for campaign has passed. It's not a matter of preference. It's because normally it's a procedure, and it happens in all the zones. The last time it was the Eastern Bar Forum that produced the president, and all the candidates were invited by their forum, and they decided themselves, evaluated. Maybe at that point, because all of them are from the same local government, yes, they think that, okay, there may not be a need because a head or tail, it will still come to the same place, and they allowed it to run. We had the same, it is the turn of the Southwest now, and what transpired was that all of us are members of we are all members of the Egbe Amofin Odua, and we all appeared before the Egbe Amofin Odua. We were all screened. And the truth is that the committee was set up in such a way that we ensure that there is balance and fairness. We have 3 female, 3 male, 1 each per state, 3 senior advocates, 3 non-senior advocates, and they interviewed all of us. All of us were at the meeting from the beginning, at the interaction from the beginning to the end. And nobody ever raised any issue as to bias or partiality or anything. After the evaluation, but the truth is that if we look at all the issues that we normally come up in that kind of a situation, it is clear that the pendulum we have to maybe swing in my favor because, one, I'm far senior to all the other contestants when you talk about this kind of profession that seniority matters. And also, I've served severally in many capacities. I've been secretary of a branch, chairman of a branch, I've been general secretary of the Nigeria Bar Association. Obviously, I have more experience. Obviously, I'm more in tune with the issues of the bar. So, yes.
Yeah, Leonard Sek, you said that we agree that you're not campaigning. We just wanted to look at the issues because the argument from those of us who are outside in is basically looking at if there are 3 people that threw up interest and then the 3 people, no matter what the sub-zone had decided or the zone had decided, and the 3 people say, no, we're not stepping down, we're going to continue like this. People are feeling like it should be fair. Since there's no consensus, allow the 3 people run. As against imposing one person. But we'll take a break. When we come back, I'm going to read a quote for you and allow you to respond to that quote. Stay with us. Welcome back. Leonard Silk Akimboro, thank you for staying with us. I understand I just have about a minute, so I'm just going to read that quote and let your response come in. Professor Chidi Carlos said, there are 3 candidates for the presidency, all are sons. One of them would like to be coronated as a sectional paramount chief of the NBA, among other things. He also will abolish 1 lawyer, 1 vote. He is a candidate of particular concern. Do you think he's addressing you on this particular one? And how do you respond to concerns like this?
Definitely couldn't have been addressing me because if there is somebody that actually fought for the 1 lawyer, 1 vote, it's me. Because it was me that actually championed it. So I couldn't have been trying to kill what I championed, and I don't know where he got that from, and nobody is trying to colonate anybody. And I don't know. It's unfortunate that we have people making such comments in this race. And if anybody had been the beneficiary of the process at the Southwest, everybody would have been happy for it. I'm proud of it. No matter what comes out of it, I'm proud of it that my people have confidence in me, and they think that I deserve to represent them. And any day, any time, that is enough for me. I'm grateful and I'm thankful for it. And whatever anybody may want to say, nobody is trying to colonate anybody. We went through the process together, all of us. So if there had been any other person, would you have said the same thing? You see, when people are taking politics too far, that's just about it. Instead of going about and advocating whatever you want to advocate for anybody you have chosen to, you don't have to malign another person. And that's the truth.
Leonard Sek, not much time, but tomorrow is decision day. So I wish you the very best. I wish all of you the very best. Olumuyiwa Akimboro is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Very good.
So we have Lateef Omoyeni Akangbe and Oyukonsola Badijo Okunsoya. All by this time tomorrow we'll know who will be the eventual winner. But thank you so much for your time and company on the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Good night.